Okay guys, today we are looking at the Red Devils British Paratroopers by ESCI. This is quite an old set, one of those ones you have to assemble, so lots of small little pieces, so that's going to be fun. But basically these are British Paratroopers as it suggests. You can see there in the packet, or the box, the kind of Arnhem-esque sort of a scenario, and paratroops in place, fighting all around them, surrounded presumably. There is a jeep depicted back here, which does not come with the set, but that's just the artist taking liberties. But anyway, the box itself, fairly basic, shows some other ESCI kits that are available. Bishop of Churchill AMRCR, which I actually made recently. You can check that video out, and kind of basically depicts that on both sides. The end there, so you can see there, it's priced in Deutschmarks. It's 6 Deutschmarks 50, which I think is the way you pronounce that. So 650 in Deutschmarks. I got this from Germany, as the price suggests, on eBay. Kind of post Euro recently, so it came from this company, Toy Box in Berlin, and it gives you a little map and everything there. Actually, ironically, I was about I'd say about 100 meters from this store not so long ago when I was in Berlin, and didn't notice it. But anyway, I could have saved myself the postage. So that's it. The artwork is on both sides of the box, although strangely enough I do have a second one of these boxes which I got a few little bits and pieces in, and it depicts the instructions, for a better term, on the rear. However, in this particular one, you get the instructions in, if I can just unfold this, rather elaborate piece of paper. And you can see there you have to assemble arms, legs, weapons, that kind of thing. And that's basically it. And you have your Piet and Rifleman, Bren Gunner, and so on and so forth. So that's the instructions. Let's have a look at a sprue. So here is the first sprue. This is basically, quite obviously, the figures. Detail isn't bad on some of them. They're okay, I must say. I've put together one or two from that other box, which I'll show you once they're painted. And basically the best of the bunch are the Piat and the guy running, which is this lad here. Actually turns into quite a nice pose. The kind of standard kneeling and standing poses are a little bit weak in the ones you assemble. These guys here might look a little bit familiar because they are basically copied from the Airfix 132 set, which is quite a good set if you've seen that. And this guy here is sort of something similar, and he has his arm there. You put a Sten gun into his hand and off you go. You can vary the arms a little bit, but to be honest, it doesn't work brilliantly. You're probably better off just going with the ones that are the limbs that are provided next or adjacent to the actual main body of the figure there itself, and that's basically it. So as you can see, that's the amount of figures you get. So what is there? There's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 15 figures roughly, and that's basically it. So they're really not obviously a full set as we would understand in today's standards, as regards you're not getting 50 pieces. Mind you, I wouldn't fancy trying to put together 50 individual pieces. I'll have a few projects coming up where that's going to be necessary. But so that's basically the sets there, or set at the sprue itself there. Detail, as I say, isn't too bad if that focuses. As you can see there on some of those, it's okay. Some of these ones, the detail isn't so great. The ones you have to assemble the lower body parts as well. Kind of detail was sacrificed for supposedly the greater posability, although as I say, the kneeling and standing guys aren't great. As a radio operator somewhere there, that guy would be interested to see how he turns out. So that's that. The other sprue you get is this one, if I turn it the right way around, and this one basically just is the stands, which is fine, and then you've backpacks, and you have the little entrenching tool, I think it is there, it's inside, and that you have to handle it, a shovel and a little pouch for it. Here's the radio. You get a Piat, little box for the Piat rounds, and as you can see along here you have weapons. So you have there's a couple of Sten guns here. Here we are, and a couple of Lee Enfield rifles. Now the detail isn't great on the Lee Enfields, unfortunately. So if you had something else that would fit in there, that might be a better option. The Stens are okay though, in fairness. On the other side, just to turn it over, you can see the detail on the radio isn't the worst, and it has two little doors there in the centre of the sprue, which you can see there. Which obviously you can do the radio in a closed or open setting. I'll be doing a kind of an open scenario. The backpacks themselves, I have already elected not to use them or the entrenching tool, because the backs of the backpack, for want of a better term, is quite flat, and I don't know if you've looked at the back of a human being in recent times, but they're generally not flat. So I've tested them off this sprue, which is out of the other box. So you can see there, I've taken a few off it and what have you, and they don't really work very well, I don't think, myself. So I shan't be using those, but they might be nice to hang on the side of a vehicle or something like that, just to kind of dress up maybe a different scenario, maybe on the side of a Jeep or something of that nature. So that's that. I'm going to crack on with these. As I say, I have a 1 or 2 done already from that other box, which wasn't complete. There was only like 5 or 4 figures in it. I just got it for kind of experiment's sake when I saw this one come up. But so kind of basically the idea is that I'm doing a rapid fire battalion, and it's going to be a mix and match kind of a scenario with various brands, Revel, the other ESCI paratroop range, and the artillery anti-tank teams, and a little cast metal piece as well. So I'll crack on, get these done, and I'll be back to you in a second with the assembled and painted figures. So talk to you in a second, guys. Hey guys, here we are with the completed figures. These are in 172, obviously. They're painted up in the colour scheme recommended by Airfix for their 132 set, because that's what I'm using at the moment for a battalion I'm putting together for rapid fire purposes, which is approximately 50 figures, which is kind of a mix and match of brands. But this is what you get, basically. 5, 6, 7, 8 poses. Quite nice, some of them better than others. We've started at the left there. You have the Rifleman at the back. Pose is a little bit unusual but quite usable. He's pointing the rifle downwards, so maybe he's firing down a slope or an incline or something like that, or maybe he's reloading the gun, whatever. The rifle itself is supposed to be a Lee Enfield 303, but it's not a great representation of one. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's not brilliant really, and if I was doing these again I would probably utilise something else as regards the rifles. As regards the multi-pose element, really the arms kind of make it a bit difficult to get a kind of a real natural hold on the rifle. A little bit of a disadvantage there, I thought myself. So not one of the best figures in the set, that guy there. Only down really to the rifle, I think, really more so than maybe the actual arms themselves. It just wouldn't sit in properly for me. This is the guy in the front there, kneeling with the same rifle. And again, similar sort of a scenario, not too bad though, in fairness. Detail on those two figures isn't as good as on some of the other ones, to be fair. I think they kind of sacrificed detail for the posability, and I think it kind of didn't win out, really. At the back here you have the officer, very reminiscent of the Airfix 132 officer. Difference is that his Sten, if I can just move him around there to give you a better view on that from the side, so his Sten is sort of pointing out that way rather than down by the leg as it was in the 132 Airfix set, but a very, very similar figure in fairness. Here you have a radio operator. This is a nice, this is probably my favourite of the bunch. Nice pose, really realistic. Radio is quite interesting as well. It has these open doors at the front there, so quite tasty. Looks pretty good, I think, in fairness. As I say, my mediocre paint job aside, but yeah, nice figure. Another one of my favourites of the bunch is this figure. This is another one of the multi-pose ones. So the arms, the guns, and the legs have to be glued on. Basically, I just used was it polystyrene cement, I think, or maybe super glue, whatever, and no problem at all. And just a nice pose. I like this guy. Bit of life in him, in fairness. He's got one leg on the ground, he's really running, he's really sprinting towards whatever he's doing with that Sten gun, presumably firing as he goes, providing a bit of cover for himself. The Piat then here, Piat, not a bad figure. Nice pose with the hands. You're able to get the hands onto the trigger section there, and in at the other side. One disadvantage of it is the actual muzzle there as well. It's kind of a one-piece job, which isn't completely accurate. But still, you know, at that scale, it's forgivable, but only just. But at the same time, these are old figures. I mean, they're from the late 70s or early 80s thereabouts. So that's the Piat. What have we got here? This guy, another guy taken pretty much straight from the Airfix 132 set. Guy throwing a grenade with the Sten in the hand. Nice figure, real classic sort of a pose. Much copied in various scales from Hong Kong and places like that. But a nice figure. I wouldn't mind if I had a couple more of those, but I only have the one. But you know, details fairly minimal. It's just basically, you know, a bit of webbing and off you go. But nice lively figure, in fairness. And here we have the Bren Gunner again, pretty much taken straight from the Airfix set. But a nice figure, I think. In fairness, it's kind of a guy walking along with his Bren. So that's him. He has a sidearm there as well, which I don't know if that was an official practice or not, but I'm pretty sure some of the light machine gunners probably would have had a sidearm as well in that case. So that's basically those guys. Now, in relation to this fella back here, the kneeling guy, I did a second one just for experiment's sake, where I had the rifle down, which made it kind of make it look like he's operating the bolt. Maybe he's ejecting a spent cartridge, or you know, if you're firing a rifle like that, sometimes you'll drop it down to get a better sight picture, reacquire a target or whatever. So, you know, that's kind of what he's supposed to be doing there, really. Well, in my mind anyway, that was my intention. Whether it works or not, I don't know. It's up to yourselves to make that decision. What else did I do? Oh yeah, I used that kneeling rifleman figure and the standing rifleman figure to put together a mortar team, which is these guys here. Just see if I can get a decent angle on that for you. Basically what I used there was just an old matchbox mortar I had knocking around, and I just kind of positioned the arms to make it look like they're interacting with that mortar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little mortar bomb from the Armour Fast German mortar set, and just drop it into their hands there, just to make it a bit more realistic, and put a bit of clump foliage around the base just to kind of spruce it up a little bit. But that's basically what that is there. That's it doesn't come with a mortar, as I said. That's a matchbox mortar from an old set from a while back. As regards size comparison, let's just put these two guys up here. Here's another ESCI guy from their kind of more readily identifiable paratrooper range. So not too much of a difference there. It's workable. There's a Revel guy. These guys are from years ago. And here is an Artillery. Oops, dropping them all today. An Artillery Piat guy there as well. So, you know, when painted up in similar colours, now the two here in the front are painted slightly different because I did them over 20 years ago. But as you can see there, when they're painted up in the same colours, the guy with the Piat and the Bren Gunner are both done in the Airfix colour scheme. So they work out fairly well together. So they're all going to be in it. Well, the two older fellas are from their own battalion, so they're separate. But the Artillery and those guys are going to be in the one battalion, so they're matching fairly well, I think, anyway. So that's basically that. The set itself, as I say, is quite old, but it's still available online in the original format from various vendors, eBay and stuff like that. It'll turn up, but it's also available as, I think it's Artillery are doing it. I think it's kit number 1356. It comes with a Horsa glider. So if you get that kit, you get a glider and you get the figures as well. So that's something to bear in mind if you wanted a glider and you want to get hold of these figures, that you could kill two birds with one stone. So that's a handy little thing to know. So that's it. That's basically my quick review on these guys, the Red Devils British Paratroopers by ESCI. I kind of like them. I would recommend them, even if it's just for those poses. The officer, the radio guy, the guy with the Sten running, the lad with the grenade, and the Bren gunner. I mean, you know, they're worth it for the money for those alone. I think myself, if you like figures in plastic, I mean, if you're going to spend money on those white metal or resin figures, you could be spending the same amount of money and maybe you get some better poses, maybe you wouldn't. It's up to yourself. I like the old stuff from a nostalgia perspective, as I always say, so these guys kind of do it for me. But all in all, pretty happy. So that's basically it, guys. That's the review on this set here, which this is the boxing I had for it. So it's Red Devils British Paratroopers ESCI 172 scale. So that's it. There'll be a few more reviews coming fairly soon. I've one other British Paratrooper project or kind of set to get through to complete that battalion, and then we move on to some other things. So if you'd like and subscribe and all that business, that'd be greatly appreciated, and we'll talk to you again soon. All the best. Take care for now.